Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Chris Weidenbar, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Principal Chaplain Glyn Murphy. We warmly welcome the family of Lieutenant William Edgar Harry Storer, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During the ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family and visitors to the memorial. Please stand and join in singing the national anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had done for us and what they had endured. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved. And here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Lieutenant William Edgar Harry Storer. William Storer was born in 1892, the first of 6 children born to William and Alice Storer of the Sydney suburb of Leichhardt. After attending Leichhardt State School, William completed an apprenticeship and worked as an engineer at the Morey Brothers and Thompson Engineering Works in Sydney, which grew cork and manufactured filters and crowners for cordial and carbonated water. William also paraded with the senior cadets in Leichhardt, holding a commission as a lieutenant in B Company, 31st Cadet Battalion. Storer enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force in July 1915. After 5 months training at Liverpool Military Camp, he embarked for Egypt with a reinforcement group for the 13th Battalion. Due to his time in the senior cadets, William applied for and was given a commission, and so sailed as a newly minted 2nd Lieutenant. The Gallipoli campaign had ended by the time Storer arrived in Egypt. He spent the following months training as the AIF expanded and restructured in preparation for the Western Front. As part of the doubling up of the AIF, William was first transferred to the 4th Pioneer Battalion and then moved to the 45th Battalion before sailing for France in June 1916. When Storer arrived in France, the Australians were occupying positions near the town of Armentières on the Franco-Belgian border. They patrolled no man's land at night and frequently raided the German trenches. In mid-July, troops of the 45th Battalion moved south to the Somme and participated in the bloody fighting at Pozières. They fought their first major action on the 7th of August when German troops counterattacked near a position known as the Windmill. When the battalion was relieved, Storer was promoted to lieutenant. When the 4th Division was sent to rest in Belgium several weeks later, he was transferred to the 12th Light Trench Mortar Battery, where he most likely became a battery commander for 2 3-inch Stokes mortars and their crews. In this capacity, Storer and the men under his command would have dropped mortar rounds on the German positions, dealing with observation posts, sniper loopholes, machine gun nests, and cutting wire for Australian trench raids. The 4th Division returned to the Somme in November 1916 and took up positions in the Fleur-Goerdecourt sector, holding them the coldest European winter in 40 years. The fighting had almost come to a standstill, but the troops were still subjected to bombardments from artillery and trench mortars. In February 1917, as the snow began to melt and the ground hardened, raids were conducted to shore up positions before fighting resumed. One of these was the 4th Division's attack on a position known as Stormy Trench. The 12th Light Trench Mortar Battery supported the 45th Battalion in its attack on Stormy Trench on the 21st of February 1917. Forced back by stubborn German resistance and then subjected to a bombardment that inflicted a heavy toll, when the fighting was done, William Storer could not be accounted for. It is believed he was among those killed by the devastating bombardment. Aged 24 at the time of his death, Storer was given a battlefield burial and was later reinterred at the Bangor British Cemetery. Devastated by the loss of their brother, William's siblings inserted the following epitaph in the newspaper. Somewhere in France they have laid him, a soldier so young and brave, far from the land of Wattle. He sleeps in a hero's grave. Sadly, this was not to be the only loss endured by the Storer family during the war years. William's younger brother, Jack, was killed fighting in the last Australian action of the war at Montbretagne in October 1918. William Storer is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Lieutenant William Storer, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening.